Well, now I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Diane Flynn. And Diane has an enviable resume. Graduated from Stanford, earned an MBA from the Harvard Business School, and early in her career, she worked for the prestigious firm Boston Consulting Group, then moved to work as the marketing executive at Electronic Arts, the leading producer of electronic games. When she became a mom, she decided to make the hard decision to leave her fast-track career to raise her children. And as her children grew to independence, she decided to rejoin the workforce to continue her career. Not an easy decision after 15 years of absence. She took a position as the Chief Marketing Officer at GSVlabs, an accelerator for startup businesses here in Silicon Valley. In early 2015, Diane co-founded ReBoot Excel to help women re-enter the workforce. And the organization's motto is to help women get current, connected, and confident. It clearly struck a chord and was an immediate success. And it has grown from a presence in Silicon Valley to 9 other cities across the nation, serving thousands of women. Although her bio sounds like a fairy tale, she faced challenges along the way. In her talk titled, My Unseen Bio, Diane plans to talk about those challenges and how her faith was pivotal in meeting them. Please welcome Diane Flynn.
Thank you, Vanessa, for those beautiful words. I'm going to stand behind the podium. Okay, as Skip shared, I have a public bio, but today I'm here to share my private bio, or my unseen bio, or the bio that even Google does not know. When I was 15, I was on the track team, and I went out for a run one day. And as I was running, I felt this intense pain and throbbing in my neck. I went home and I applied some heating pads, and I kind of watched it for a few weeks. But as I was in school, I was in 9th grade, it just got worse. And so my mom took me in. We saw the doctor. He said, you know, it looks like a cyst. Let's get it out. So I went in for surgery, and when I woke up, the first thing I saw told me something was not good. As much as I love my brothers, seeing their 2 faces bedside, they had flown home from college, just didn't feel like a great sign. And that's when my dad told me I had cancer. I had cancer of the parotid gland, one of only 7 cases at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota at that time. And I faced about a year of surgeries where they told me my left side of my face may never work again. And all my pictures, I have my finger holding up my smile, because I always wanted to smile, but couldn't. Fortunately, as you can see, and praise God, I regained my nerves on my left side of my face. And then in my 20s, I had 2 young toddlers at home. And I had, as Skip mentioned, a full-time job that I loved. It just filled me. But I had enough stress to warrant about 7 years of chronic sinus infections. And it got to the point where something had to give. It was not going to be my toddlers, so my job took the back seat, and I, as Skip mentioned, stayed home for about 15 years raising my kids. A few years after I quit work, I had a 3rd child, my son Matthew, who's here today somewhere, if he got out of bed. I haven't seen him yet, so I'm making an assumption. He was born with some medical challenges and necessitated 6 different surgeries starting at 3 months. And then the good news, though, was that my parents, who lived in Minnesota at the time, I live here, were ever present. They were here for every surgery. My mom was always on a flight. People thought they lived here because they were here so often. Sadly, several years ago, she was out visiting, flew home for some elective knee surgery, and did not survive. And then a few years after that, my father had cancer. Spoke to him every day on the phone, and he passed away from cancer. And that was about about 4 years ago. A few months after he passed away, I was diagnosed yet again with cancer. This time breast cancer. So why do I share all this? The reason I do is, as I was preparing these remarks, I reflected on my life and what has brought me the most meaning and what has really cemented my faith. And it's not any of the things that Skip read. Those are great. As Vanessa said, it's nice to have a resume. But when I think about who I am and what has shaped my character and what has built my faith, it's these times when I was down on my knees, literally not knowing the future, that I felt God's presence. And as I was preparing this, I journaled a lot during these difficult times. And I was reading through some of my journals. And there were 2 verses that kept coming up over and over from the age of 15. And I wanted to share them with you because I honestly think they are what got me through this. One is Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And the second is Romans 5:3. We rejoice in our suffering because suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. At the time of many of these challenges, I did not have great patience. My family will attest. Patience was not my gift. I didn't have a lot of joy at times. In fact, many times I was very angry at God. But I was faithful in prayer. And I do think that I learned to find joy and patience and perseverance in those times of struggle and triumph. Wouldn't it be nice to learn all this without the affliction? I learned that through affliction is when I most fully experienced God's presence. So how has God worked through some of these events? I'm just going to touch on a few ways. I believe my early childhood experience with cancer, along with my son's medical journey, is what resulted in me working for the last 16 years, and I still do today, as an advisor at Stanford Children's Hospital. I help families navigate their path, which is very difficult and challenging, and I help the hospital develop more family-centered practices and care. My sinus infections, as hard as they were at the time, those were my speed bump. I tend to be a little like Vanessa. I'm a doer. And I don't pause very often. My dad used to come out and he'd sit in the family room and he'd watch me scurry around. He said, Diane, don't you ever just sit and reflect. And the reality is it's not my natural state. I need these speed bumps in my life to say, take a time out and just reflect and pray. Psalm 46:10 is one of my favorites too. Be still and know that I am God. And I have to keep being reminded to be still because, God gives us our unique personalities. And then lastly, I think the cancer I had 3 years ago was totally pivotal to what I'm doing today. The ReBoot program was a result of a lot of months on the couch recuperating. And I did spend time in discernment and reflection and prayer. And what I felt God telling me, it was very clear. He told me that my life is more exhilarating when I help others more fully experience theirs. And I think that was the kind of vision that led me to ReBoot. Because when I came back into the workforce, I felt there were a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't know today's technologies. I didn't have a professional network. I didn't have a LinkedIn profile. And when I shared my story, I found I wasn't alone. There are a lot of women just like me who needed to upskill and develop confidence. So 4 amazing women who are here today took the call with me, and we've started ReBoot, and now I get to wake up every morning filled with purpose. I get to use my talents, and most importantly, I get to change lives. And every week we hear from another woman who says, "You've changed my life." And that is my purpose right now. My job is my ministry, and I feel so blessed to merge the two. And I hope that every day I honor God with how I treat people and serve. So what are the takeaways? 3 things I'd like to leave with you. 1, life is filled with tough times. No one escapes. If you're struggling with your career, with your health, with your kids, with loss, perhaps getting up in the morning is difficult, getting through the day is difficult, I want you to know that there is a source of strength that's available for the asking. It's very easy to seek God, and what I've found personally is that the peace and the comfort and the wisdom that He provides is immeasurable. Second, who knows your unseen bio? I selectively share my bio each week with a group of my prayer partners who are also here today. Thank you. And that is a tremendous source of strength for me. I had the chance to meet with my pastor, John Ortberg, to prepare this talk, and he shared something I thought was really poignant. He said, when we share our public bios, we might impress others. But when we share our private bios, we connect with others. And we all need more connections, as Skip pointed out. People connect with our messes, not our successes. So I would just ask you to consider sharing your private bio with at least one trusted friend. And third, ask God for help on your unseen bio. Every day I try to ask, God, what are you teaching me? How do you want me to respond? I've learned to thank God in everything, not for everything, knowing that He can sharpen and shape me for any challenge and use it for His good. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful talk. Thanks so much, Diane. Many, many takeaways from that. I guess I was struck by a few things when, as you said, you went through affliction. That cemented your faith. Good lesson in that. And as Diane said, we all have an unseen bio, and it is helpful when we can share that with a trusted friend. And it often is through affliction that we really get our relationship cemented with God. So thank you very much.